Good morning, Commissioner Wilson. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Hello?
I'm here and here. Let's try that again. Good morning, Commissioner Wilson. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, Janelle. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm not think I'm going to be able to use video today. So I just thought I'd let you know so that everybody could give some applause briefly, because they don't have to look at me, but they do have to hear me. So thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner Freeze. Can you hear us?
I can indeed, Janelle. Good morning.
Thank you. We hear you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's 8 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District to order. We do have a quorum in attendance in the meeting room. We have Commissioners Bookland, Eskridge, Clark, Murphy, and myself, Commissioner Havel. And so far online, I think we have Commissioner Freeze and Commissioner Wilson. So at this point, we're missing Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Rummel. Join later. Okay, so welcome to all of our guests. Janelle, would you like to go through the virtual meeting guidance, please?
Certainly. Good morning, Commissioners, members of the public, and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all to please follow. Number one, for those using microphones in room today, please ensure you are facing the microphone and that it is 3 to 4 inches away when speaking. Please state your name before speaking for anybody that's attending virtually. For those at the table, please make sure your mic is muted unless you are speaking, since we only have 3 mics that are live at once. And as a reminder, the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the meeting host, and this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. So with that, let's have a great meeting, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. Michael, do you have any announcements?
No announcements this morning.
Okay. And do we have any appearances by the public? Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak? Okay, and is there anybody online that would like to speak? Okay. Don't see or hear of anyone. So that will move us to the consent calendar, where we have the approval of the minutes of the 28th of September, approval of cash statement, operating and capital funds. And then we have expedited boundary annexation, Portage Road, expedited boundary annexation, High Point Road, expedited boundary annexation, Drager Development, Rona. And then review and approval of sanitary sewer extension plans. There's 3 new construction, 1 reconstruction, and then approval of third quarter 2023 sewer service charges. Review of proposals, award a contract for professional services for the final effluent building outreach amenity design. And then finally, on the consent calendar is authorized agreement with DOT Southeast Interceptor relocation at Yahara River. Do we have any questions on any of those items before we get a motion?
Wanted to highlight just briefly about the third quarter is that the third quarter shortfall is 127,000, and year to date is about 276,000 below budget. In the commission agenda report, it's mentioned that our CBOD loads in the third quarter were increased by a factor of 1.1, and due to changes made in the lab analytic equipment beginning in the quarter. If we would not have made this adjustment in the third quarter, the shortfall would have increased by about $200,000. So it was a good adjustment, but I wanted to highlight that piece that was in the commission agenda report.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Any questions or anything? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
It's Wilson. I'd move approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Okay.
Eskridge, I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Eskridge to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion any opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you. So that will take us to the topics. The first one is, Kurt, you're going to introduce an annexation request and schedule a public hearing on a parcel in the DeForest in the town of Burke.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kurt Sauser. I'm an engineering technician with the district, and today I'm here to present to you the introduction of an annexation request, scheduling of a public hearing for the Daintil Road Industrial Area parcel. It's in the village of DeForest and the town of Burke. This one is a little bit unique. Could you go to the next slide, please? So just wanted to review the boundary annexations. There's two types that we approve. The first type is an expedited annexation. You just approved 3 expedited annexations. Those are parcels within cities, villages, or town sanitary districts. So when those are presented to us, the commission, upon receipt of the notice, the commission only has 30 days to respond and reject those requests. If without rejection, those parcels are automatically annexed to our district. The second type, this petition to annexation hearing, is for other territory, and this particular request is unique. Could you go to the next slide, please, Amanda? So this one is unique because it includes lands that are in the village of DeForest and also the town of Burke. So that brings us into that second category, that lands that are they span 2 municipalities, and so the statutes require that that Class 2 notice be provided and a public hearing be held. So staff can meet the public hearing or the public notice requirements to hold a public hearing on November 16th. So I'm requesting that we schedule a public hearing for that date. If that date is a problem for the commission, maybe we push that out a bit longer, but we do have a commission meeting scheduled that date. So and during the public hearing, I'm sure you'll hear lots more details about this particular annexation. But so the village of DeForest has requested the annexation. The town of Burke has written a letter that they're in concurrence with the annexation as well. So there is no animosity between the municipalities. So and also these lands, I believe, the lands that are in the town of Burke by boundary agreement will go into the village of DeForest by 2036, if not sooner. So anyways, I'm just requesting that the commission schedule a date for the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. We don't need a motion to schedule, do we? Public hearing?
I don't believe so.
No.
Or,
Okay, so, is anybody opposed to a November 16th public hearing date being scheduled? And would we do that meeting virtually, or virtually do it in person? We'll do it virtually. So that'll be a virtual meeting most likely. And so, hearing no opposition, we'll schedule the public hearing for the 16th of November. AM. Okay. Good.
thank you.
Thank you. That will move us to the deliberation and direction on the 2024 operating capital project and debt service budget. I don't know that we had any formal presentation, but Michael, did you want to say a few things?
Just a few remarks. My name is Michael Muka, Chief Engineer, and I presented the draft budget to the Commission on September 14th, and the Commission did have a public hearing on September 28th. And since that time, we did have a call out for written comments. We did receive one written comment in your packet from the Village of Windsor, which is here for your review. At this point, what we're looking for is any final direction to me or any questions before we finalize the budget and bring it, turn it to you for approval and the establishment of rates. Then I'll turn it back over to the Commission for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Anybody have any comments or questions or any direction they wish to give staff on the budget? Because then we'll be acting on that at the next meeting, the last meeting, that I think that's October 20th. So anybody have anything? Sarah?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm curious to know more, and I prompted Michael for this, about the business services specialist role when we're thinking about operating cost positions or increased costs. So I wonder if you could say a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And all the positions and costs we look at really closely and prioritize. The resource team, I use that term a lot, and you'll hear me use it. And it's the work that they do is below the water line in many ways. If you look at an iceberg, you see everything above the water, but below the water line is a lot of things we don't see. And that's really the work, which is different than a lot of our other FTEs, which deliver tangible projects. Like when you have approved project engineers in the past, it's pretty clear project engineer is going to deliver more projects. I mean, as a little bit of background about the resource team, I created it in 2015, converting what were secretaries and receptionists into highly skilled technical problem solvers. And my vision was to have a team that helps others help themselves instead of giving work to them. And it's really based on a model called co-production. I don't know if any of you heard the term co-production before. A good analogy is I have my local grocery store, Jenny Street Market. I don't know if any of you have been there. It hasn't changed in 50, 60 years. You go in there and old cash registers, they only take cash. To my surprise, I went in there 6 months ago and they automated all the cash registered, and all of us had to scan our stuff by ourselves. And it was a big change. I didn't like the change, but I was changed. And they had staff there for several months holding our hands on how to scan our own groceries. And that example is what the resource team does in our organization in terms of finding efficiencies and helping department staff do things in a way more efficient than having staff do it. An example is agenda management. The resource team conceived, designed, and implemented an agenda management system that has saved us countless hours for putting together a 160-page packet every 2 weeks, and eliminated a lot of frustration. And they onboard and train all new staff on how to use the process. And there are many examples of doing that, including our onboarding program for new employees, and there's a lot of detailed work, including onboarding a new commissioner. So that's what a resource team exists. But But what is this position trying to accomplish? And it's really trying to accomplish two things. We're trying to add capacity. We've added, since the resource team was formed, we've added over 30 employees, probably more than that with part-timers, and 15 new programs, and that have needs and demands. And the day-to-day work is requiring us to use mandatory overtime just to get the packets out, doing notices, and just the core work. And what's going on the back burner, unfortunately, are all these projects I envision this team doing, are all these improvement projects, such as our visual asset management. How do we get all these pictures and all these videos? How do we manage them and use them effectively? And a kind of campaign for how do we manage our owner contacts, which change all the time. So that is, it's really one of capacity. But also, since we have this need, Amanda took the opportunity to kind of look at a reorg of how do we function the work in a way that's more effective. And we tried to take all of the items related to commission-related work, such as agenda management, commission support, and put it into one of those positions instead of having 3 people doing pieces to add more. I think it's going to be more solid, more single focus, and have us do an even better job on the agenda, which I know you feel is going pretty well. That's why that position is in there. And if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just for context for other commissioners, I mean, I think, as you said, Michael, the other positions are a little bit more clear in terms of sharing the operational kind of what happens day to day that we all see. So for me, the question is really, it feels like things are going well, so credit to the team for clearly being really, really scrappy and not showing us that there's capacity challenges, because we, at least speaking for myself, I don't feel or see those. So it was especially interesting to hear that there's mandatory overtime that's happening in order to meet that need. If there's any sense of quantifying that you could do, that might be helpful in terms of justification. I'm just trying to think about, you know, the feedback that we're getting, and there are very few places that we have any room to cut, right? You all have done a lot to try to bring us a budget that's clean, and I just want to make sure that we're kind of pushing on all those opportunities for cost savings. My feedback.
Yeah, good question on the much overtime versus free. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Or want to give any direction? Okay, I don't see anybody in the room. Is there anybody online that has any comment, question, or wants to give direction?
No, thanks, Tom. Commissioner Meyer here.
Okay,
It's
okay,
Wilson. The only thing I'd say is if Michael could respond to Windsor's letter and then maybe copy us so we can see what he says, that'd be great. Other than that, it's all, I don't have any questions.
Okay, good. Anybody else?
Nothing for me. This is Commissioner Freeze. Thank you.
And is Commissioner Rummel on? No. Okay, so I don't see anybody who wants to say anything. So at that point, the main thing is responding to the Windsor letter, and then copy us, and then quantifying the overtime and things like that, so we have a better idea of the position that's being added. Otherwise, I don't see anybody giving any further direction for the budget. So I think I can close that item. So I'll close that item, and we'll move on to item 4C, third quarter focus item, monitoring report. Michael?
Thank you, Commissioners. Michael Muka again. And this is our third quarterly report card. And this is just for the public who may be on board. This is a process the Commission established for us to be able to share with the Commission how we're making progress on focus items, and where they can support us, where we have needs, and if things are going well, share that, but also if we're having challenges, what they are, and then that helps us during budget, it helps us during resourcing, and things of that nature. It's important that focus items are, our day-to-day work of collecting and treating wastewater is our primary and fundamental job. We get it done every day. And part of this work is also looking at what are elements of the district that we want to do even better or improve on, and being very selective and strategic about which those things are, because we can't do everything, and doing work on focus items takes time away from other primary fundamental work of the district. So the commission and I have been working together on how do we rein in the number of focuses we have, and you approved a plan for next year, focus items for 2024 that are only 9, and here there's many more, and we're doing a better job of focusing our resources. That's really the context for why focus items exist and what we're trying to do. And most of the time, focus items also have a policy component at some point, or a heavy resource component. We need support from the commission and or direction. That's another important element of what separates a focus item from just. So I'm going to go through this high level. On a quarterly basis, usually there aren't huge monumental shifts or change. But I will say, in this report, there are some big things we can say we did accomplish and the commission accomplished. Like, for example, on the ongoing commission process improvement, the commission conducted a study session on elements they want to work on, and tasked me with taking all of your comments and returning with a distilled list of themes, which I'm doing, and we'll schedule for a future meeting where we can look at, we need to make changes to our process policies or way of working and things of that nature. So that was accomplished. Equity also, we had an equity study session with the commission, and the commission approved an equity action matrix and gave me direction on how to implement equity for the district, and we're moving forward with that plan as the commission endorsed. As sampling and monitoring, you heard from Marty in end of September, our phase 2 sampling and analysis results. Marty did a great presentation on that, and we anticipate bringing a contract to the commission in the 4th quarter for sampling and analysis. Then service charges, we implemented some of the recommendations from the fiscal work group of owner communities, and that was to send service charge estimates to them earlier, which we have done this year in the billing program. And now we're focusing on evaluating the feasibility of an industrial billing program as a means to kind of control costs and our flows and quality of that nature. Badger Mill Creek compliance, there's been a lot going on in this area since your approval of a compliance option. First, we had a really good first meeting with DNR staff yesterday. Marty, Kathy Lake, Paul Kent, and myself met with. How many DNR people were in the room? I counted at least 7, maybe it might have been 10. And really, Marty really wanted us to do some information gathering to understand early what the DNR's needs are for data and information to help us move our critical path forward. It was a very productive meeting, very good tone of meeting, but we definitely outlined some things in that meeting that we need to follow up on for future analysis, or I should say discussion. We had that first meeting. The other thing is we had our first meeting of the stakeholder group on September 30th, and we're planning for the second one. That went really well as well. Continue to make improvements to reliability-centered maintenance. The enterprise resource management implementation, we've formed a steering committee to work on this. And commissioners, I owe you a presentation on the ERP. It was asked to learn more about it, what it is, what's involved, the resources, and we are planning that, and we will be putting that on the commission calendar in the near future. If it isn't already, I don't think it's on there yet. And so that's what's going on there for diversity, equity, inclusion, which is our internal work. We have formed a strategy change team and had a kickoff meet, and we'll be having a kickoff meeting this month. That's ongoing. Executive team, leadership and oversight. But Amanda. This is work I've engaged BJ Rogers, who you're familiar with, a consultant, to help me really get to some core issues and opportunities. BJ did a study with me and the executive team and presented his results to me this week. And I have a plan for what I want to do, and I'm going to be sharing that with the commission very soon. But that is moving forward in terms of my executive team work and some of the things that the commission, you've talked to me about during my performance review, I'm going to be addressing. I have a plan for that. You'll hear more about that. Employee engagement, we rolled out our survey results to you. Seems like a long time ago. But now we're into the implementation phase and state of the team conversations. Every team is meeting to look at their individual results and having facilitated meetings on what one thing they can work on. I have my meeting scheduled with my team, the executive team, on October 25th. And the executive team is also looking more globally at trust and leadership as a team, and we're including that in our retreat discussions, and we're gathering some early data to help us get our arms around these big topics of trust and leadership and how employees view those things and think about those things, and align those with how we might think about those. That's going on. Then emergency management, something that's been deferred as a major effort, and won't be in the plan next year, as you know. That's my report. I think I covered everything. Maybe I'll pause there, see if there's any questions by the commission, and then I ask for your acceptance of my report, my third quarter report.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Anybody have any questions before we ask for acceptance of the report? Sarah?
Ask another question. I feel like I'm the only one talking. I'm curious, Michael, any feedback from owner communities about getting them the rate kind of information earlier, positive or constructive, or, you know?
Haven't received any direct feedback on that. But we are doing some follow-up work on the budget discussions. I'm meeting with city managers and village presidents on water topics, and it's a good reminder for me to ask them how they feel about it, but I haven't asked.
Okay. The only other question I had, and thank you for the updates, it sounds like we were going to do these like smaller closed session conversations. It sounds like you've got some material for us to discuss in that sort of capacity, so we'll just make sure that's on a future agenda.
November.
Okay.
I'll schedule it for November.
Great. Thank you.
Brad?
Don't have any questions, just a suggestion. Somebody could go through the document and just, I should know what CMOM means. Under
That's always a good reminder.
Management. There's a couple others. I think there was a reliability-centered maintenance. I don't know if there's others. WAM.
Yeah.
A big deal.
Good suggestion.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody joining us online have any comments or questions? Okay, I don't hear anybody, and you don't have anybody raising their hand to speak. Okay, so thank you very much, Michael, on that. Do you want a motion to approve, or just?
Yes, please.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the third quarter focus report?
So moved. This is Commissioner Meyer.
I'll second it, Murphy.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Murphy to accept the third quarter monitoring report. Any further comments or discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? None, motion carries. Good. Okay, that will take us to the CED, report and update. Michael?
Thank you. Sorry for the acronyms on my first slide. That TFO is a treatment facility overflow, and the return activated to our return activated sludge flow meter, and this is what that looks like. And we had a TFO occur on Thursday, October 5th in the morning, and it originated from a leak in the hole of the pump, and this pump returns sludge, which are our microbes that work on the treatment and nutrient removal part of our process, to the beginning of the treatment process, because our microbes are always recycling through the system. And we had about a 40-gallon spill or leak, so to speak, and it drained into a sewer trough into a small area around some treatment tanks. We cleaned the area. There were no public notices, and we notified the DNR as were required. The more significant one, and one I sent 2 emails to the commission last Friday and on Monday, was a sanitary sewer overflow, an SSO for PS15 pumping station 15 force main on Allen Boulevard. And this was an overflow that was reported really early in the morning, 5:30 a.m. on Friday the 6th, and was discovered by the city of Middleton and reported to the district as liquid bubbling out of the pavement in the east northbound lane of Allen Boulevard. The force main for pumping station 15 is located in Marshall Park and runs underneath Allen Boulevard. District staff reported to the site at 6:30 a.m. and once it was determined to be a sewage and part of a force main, we ceased pumping to the station. We diverted flow and activated our incident command system. Sewage entered the storm sewer, and the city of Madison provided assistance for cleaning the street and flushing the storm sewer line. Some sewage entered Lake Mendota by the storm sewer, and overflow to the lake and street was contained by 9 a.m. Notice was given to the City of Madison, the City of Middleton, Dane County Highway Department, Madison Parks, Public Health Madison, Dane County by 10 a.m. as one lane of the northbound traffic needed to be closed, and a media advisory was sent to local news stations and posted on district social media. We also coordinated with the city to share the closure with their channels as well. Capital Underground is a contractor, an invaluable contractor for us because they're our emergency contractor. And when we call them, they drop everything to help us. And we called early in the response, and they were on site to start excavating and trying to help us find where the leak was. Here is what the pipe looks like, and that's about 4 inches, and that is, when a pipe is under pressure such as this, that's what creates a lot of water and sewage that gets out, and that's why we get concerned right away when we hear of mains failing in this way. About 5,000 gallons is estimated as the volume of the overflow, and O&M staff are completing final work with the DNR. This is what the repair looks like. It goes around the pipe to actually plug the hole, and the picture to the left is once we make the repair, then we have to energize the pipe and put it under pressure to see if it works. Because the fitting, the pipe isn't perfectly smooth anymore, and getting a proper fit is really important. And there was at least one adjustment that we needed to make before we felt comfortable with the repair. And the crew stayed around till about 11 p.m. Watching it to see that it worked, and then returned in the morning. Final inspection, and the road was. This was fantastic teamwork and effort by many areas of the district, of mobilizing and doing work they do best, but doing it quickly, and 16-hour days for many of the staff. And we do monitor hours, but it was a long day, and the response was accomplished. There are two other elements to this that the Commission should be really proud of in your role in this, that when something happens like this, we need dedicated staff that implements and makes these types of changes. But to make this happen well requires a lot of planning. And sometimes it's the decisions that were made 8 years ago that helped us with this response. And one example is the upgrade to Pumping Station 15. Pumping Station 15, when that was upgraded, we added a gravity flow diversion to that station that would allow us to not have to bypass pump wastewater. With that gravity flow diversion, that allowed us to divert the flow easily to shut off this pipe and do the repair. It would have been harder to do it without that diversion. That PS15, as you know, is one of our Envision Gold projects. Focus there is on resiliency. The other piece to this is that the incident command system that was deployed I've never seen the level of communication and coordination that we had on this. We're really good at responding to emergencies, but the coordination was done, and that wasn't just by chance or by accident. It required leadership, and Eric Dundee kind of showed the leadership to say, you know, we need to do a better job in our incident response. And he saw the need, he owned it, he planned a change in our processes and changes how we do the projects, and implemented it. So all of this is required, the leadership, the response, the planning is all part of making something that appears like, boy, we had 5,000 gallons of wastewater go into the lake. Yes, but it could have been a lot worse. And these things are going to happen from time to time as we're dealing with aging infrastructure.
Question about the aging infrastructure. How old was the pipe?
You know, I do not know that question. Someone in the room knows it. 70s vintage. About 50 years old.
It looked from the picture like it was fine, and then all of a sudden there's a fairly significant size break, and was it any of our fortunately.
And it's could be a lot of reasons why this happened, and speculating just wouldn't be productive at this point. The bigger question is, what is the condition of our force mains? And maybe that's underlying what you're saying is, you know, and that is part of the work, our future work around the collection system is really, it's hard to evaluate the condition of force mains. Interceptors we can put a TV camera in them, we can see where the defects are. With force mains, it's not as easy. We've tried some technology with those smart balls. Remember Bruce, a couple years ago, we put smart balls through the force mains to see if that collected any information. It was not reliable, the information we received. So we're still pursuing how we tackle force mains. Part of our system we don't have a good condition plan for yet.
This is Bill Walker, Director of Planning. I want to make another comment here, which is Often we focus on resiliency of individual pieces of the system, a particular force main. Michael's comment earlier about the ability to do redirection emphasizes something that's very important to us in planning, which is it's the resiliency of the entire system, or at least components of it, not individual pieces, and that's really important in our planning for the collection system.
Okay.
One additional question, and also just comment, so well done. And your email, Eric, was really spot on congratulating the entire team. So thanks for sharing that with us, Michael, and well said. This is a naive question. But when things like this happen, and, you know, Middleton showed up, Madison showed up, all of these partners show up, what's the shared responsibility? Like, how do we compensate for that? Is that just kind of like emergency response that like, you know, if fire shows up first from a different jurisdiction, they take it on? Like, how does that, can you tell us a little more about that? Because it's pretty amazing that collaboration happens even interjurisdictionally.
Yeah, thank you. So, Eric Tendeeb, Director of Operations and Maintenance for those online. When this happens, it's kind of a common thread theme around municipalities and government agencies that you're doing work for somebody because you're going to need it at some point too. There is billing that's done and costs passed through and tracked. It's usually the after the fact situation of, I need you here, you know, City of Madison, please bring your Vector trucks out here. We'll work it out later type of thing. So yeah, there are mutual aid agreements that are in effect at a, I would call it state levels, but really for us, it's about, you know, Michael's connection, our connection with customers. We do this all the time, and if you look at our service map, we are in every customer community. So if we can help them or they can help us, it's mutual.
Okay, thank you very much. Good work on that, everyone. Do you have anything more?
I do. You know, Commissioners, I like to round out my presentation with good news, more good news. And I reported to you our failed whole effluent toxicity test, or wet test, for Badger Mill Creek way back in August 17th. And whole effluent toxicity refers to the aggregate toxic of effect on aquatic organisms and from all pollutants contained in our effluent. So it's an important indicator for us. And we failed the chronic toxicity test, which relates to the concentration of effluent that causes sublethal effects long term. We are required within 90 days to do 2 follow-up tests. I reported that we did pass the last test, the first test I should be, and I'm pleased to say we passed the second test. And so our work is completed with this round of tests. We continue to do quarterly testing on both discharges, and we alternate the discharges, but we've resolved this failed test now, and I wanted to circle back with the Commission on that. If you have more detailed questions, Mary's here and Marty's here.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Anybody have any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on then to regulatory and legal. Paul?
Yes, and I was just checking a couple of updates on my phone. I had mentioned at the last session the anti-degradation rule passed the Natural Resources Board. That's still working through the legislative process now. But you may have seen some articles in the paper on the PFAS legislation, and that's relevant for us in that it provides grant money, which is a good thing, but how that grant money was to be spent was something that was a matter of debate. And one of the questions was, could we be that money not just to develop a PM minimization plan, but then to actually implement it? So going out, whether it's to industry or, given these results, more like a community-wide effort to try and reduce PFAS coming into the plant, this grant money would be available for that. So that's something that we could be thinking about. It passed the Senate committee on a 3-2 vote, going to the Assembly where it's expected to pass. There are still some provisions in this bill that have caused concern by the governor, and was the result of the 2 Dems on the committee voting no, having to do with how the department responds under its spill statute to PFAS issues. So it's entirely possible we could see a veto on this if it gets that far, but we'll continue to monitor it, and otherwise, the other legislation, I think we will get some direction on it in this fall session, but there hasn't been anything moving. All I have on the regulatory side.
Okay, any questions for Paul? Seeing none, then that takes us to the future meeting schedule. So the next 2 meetings are anticipated to be virtual. The meeting where we act on the budget in 2 weeks, and then the November 16th meeting where we'll be having that public hearing on the annexation and other issues as well. Is that the agenda that you're going to be having your session or whatever? So, anybody have any future agenda topics? Any other business? And we have a motion to adjourn.
It's Wilson. I'll move we adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by...
I'll second that, Commissioner Clark.
Second by Commissioner Clark. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Sorry I couldn't be there, everybody. Take care.
Ditto. Have a great rest of the week.
Sorry I was late. My computer needed to update.